Much. Reena Gupta, who advises the government of Delhi and is deeply involved in significant mobility transport transformations in Delhi. Lucia Hernandez, who is representing us from UNICEF and is representing youth activism, youth voice and youth making of the future of what we are seeing here. And Pilar Bueno from Argentina, who is the Undersecretary of Climate Change and Just Ecological Transition. So, welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
We are going to start with a reflection generally on a number of different perspectives, and then we'll open up a little bit debate amongst us. If you have a sense of questions and reflections you would like to put to us, please develop your ideas, because we'll take a little time towards the end for that. So, let's start with some of the Let's start with the landscape of challenge and opportunity. And Lisa, I'm going to start with you on this question of what are the main challenges when it comes to trying to decarbonize the complex environment of cities? What do you see, what have you experienced as almost your targets for addressing transformation in an urban context?
Thank you, Kirsten. I must say, I'm going to point at three main challenges. First one is transport emissions and energy demand. So reduction of transport emissions are urgently needed to really achieve decarbonized pathways. So because of its near almost complete dependence on fossil fuels and the growing demand for transport, the transport sector accounted 20.7% global fossil fuel CO2 emissions in 2022. Urban transport, for example, accounted for around 40% of global CO2 emissions. And across most cities, urban transport contributes between 20% and 60% of local CO2 emissions. So in the absence of interventions, motorized mobility in cities could surge 94% between 2015 and 2050. So that means that with this inequity and unhealthy and unstable and unsustainability car-centric models is still the default situation now. So there is a lack of avoid and shift strategies or optimized land use planning for healthier cities and economies. And at the same time, many decision makers remain underinformed about the benefits on investing in public transport, cycling infrastructure, rail freight, electric vehicles and buses, railways, energy demand reduction, and renewable energy as pillars for achieving clean decarbonized cities. So we need to enable less energy demanding transport systems. We need less car-centric models for passenger transport, less road-centric models for freight transport, coupled with a just transition to the phase-out of fossil fuels in land transport. Then my second challenge will be access. Most of the world's population lacks of access to affordable, safe, and sustainable land transport. And the demand for transporting people and goods, it's projected to increase. So making land transport systems for people and goods more equitable, accessible, and decarbonized will deliver cost-efficient and cross-cutting solutions at the intersection of equity, economic development, and climate action. So we need to keep in mind that transport enables prosperity and livelihoods. And my last challenge will be multi-level governance. But not only multi-level governance. We need multi-sectoral approaches, stakeholders engagement, and public and private cooperation that are also fundamental. It is essential to enhance action and cooperation at the international, national, and subnational levels on the policy and financing conditions to enable these transformations. And finally, I would like to say that I have been seeing a message on my way to this event that says action builds trust. So I think this is a very powerful message now for these conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, that's a wonderful message for the whole day and for the whole COP. Reena, I think you have a lot of experience in addressing some of these barriers, affordability, accessibility, and the mindset shifts. What has been happening in Delhi?
So I want to start with giving a brief context of Delhi. When we say Delhi, what do we actually mean? It's a city of 30 million people. It's 1,500 square kilometer from some of the hilly regions, some of the coastal areas, some of the agrarian areas, where their livelihoods and their lives have been impacted due to climate change. So in search of better opportunities, they move to cities like Delhi. So the biggest challenge for us is that no matter how much you plan and how much transport you build, it's never enough. We have 400 kilometers of metro that we've built over the last 7-8 years. But even that 400-kilometer metro is not enough. It's always overcrowded, because if we are getting 300,000 new people every year, the biggest challenge for us as the city-state government is to be able to cater to everybody that comes to Delhi. That's point number one. The second issue is that Delhi, when it was planned, it was not very well planned. So you have pockets where all the commercial activity is, and then you have pockets where most of the people live. So a lot of people travel 25 to 30 kilometers every day to their work of employment. It's almost impossible to retrofit that, because lives are already there and communities are there. You can't uproot them and replan the city. Also, Delhi has almost 23% tree and forest cover, which we don't want to cut down to build public transport. So how do we retrofit all of this and still build enough transport, make it affordable, make it safe, reliable, and accessible? That has been our biggest challenge. We are working through all of that. And I can speak when we come back, or you want me to continue now?
No, please, go ahead.
Sure. So we are following a three-pronged approach. A, we want to increase the public transport. B, we want to make public transport free for everybody. And C, we want to encourage the rich to leave their cars and move to public transport. So that's the three-pronged strategy. In terms of increasing the public transport, we have right now around 400 kilometers of metro line. We have placed an order for 10,000 electric buses in Delhi. So in the next 3 years, all of Delhi will only be powered with electric buses. I think when we have a delivery of the 10,000 buses, Delhi will probably have more electric buses than any other city in the world. In terms of making public transport cheap for everybody, I'm very happy to say that any woman in Delhi, all my sisters sitting here, anybody who comes to Delhi, the buses are free for everybody. For every woman of Delhi, the buses are free. And we made it free for everybody 3 years ago. And in the 3 years, 1 billion women have traveled. So we issue something called as pink tickets. Any woman who boards a bus gets a pink ticket, which is free. So 1 billion women have taken this ticket.
And you have ensured that they are safe to travel.
We've ensured they're safe to travel. So there is CCTV, there is GPS, we have bus marshals in every bus. What this has also done is that a lot of women who earlier could not travel to a little far off place for employment have now started traveling. So this has also increased livelihood opportunities for women. And we've documented a lot of these case studies that how women who earlier were homebound because wherever they lived in that neighborhood they did not have livelihood opportunities are not now able to travel by bus to say 10 kilometers away where the commercial activity is, and they're able to get employment. In terms of moving private car owners and private two-wheeler owners, what we are trying to do is we are trying to make electric vehicles, the cost of electric vehicles at par with ICE vehicles. So today in Delhi, if you have to buy a new electric vehicle, there is no tax on it, so there's no registration fee, there is no road tax. So as a result of this, a new electric two-wheeler costs the same as an ICE two-wheeler. And I'm very happy to say that in the past 2 years, all new electric two-wheelers, around 25% are now electric. So all the people who could not afford an electric two-wheeler are now moving from ICE two-wheelers to electric two-wheelers. We have a wonderful scrappage policy in place that we want to get rid of your old old polluting vehicle and buy an electric vehicle, then the government subsidizes that, government incentivizes that. Now the challenge is that how do we get the car owners to move? We've managed to move a lot of the two-wheeler owners to public transport, but the rich and the elite of Delhi are still not leaving their cars. So that is our challenge that we are hoping to work on in the next 5 years. We've recently launched a premier bus aggregator policy where we are allowing bus services to bring in luxury premium buses to Delhi, and people can buy a seat on the luxury buses. We're hoping this will motivate some of the richer people of Delhi to move towards public transport. I'll stop here and I can come back.
Let's come back to that, because this is a really interesting question around how do we shift mindset and demand for those for whom it's not a constraint, but it's actually going to need to be a choice. I'd love to pick up on so it's a really interesting pickup already on this question of affordability, accessibility, and the equity, economic access that comes with increased transport opportunities that you were talking about, Liza. Let's come to this question of multi-level governance, because you both mentioned it, and it's